Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers. Today we're going to be looking at the best running watches you can buy right now. We've got 5 categories that we're going to run through. We've all tested loads of these watches and we've picked our top 5, starting with the sub 100, nice and affordable. Then we've got under 200. We've got a value bracket. We've also then got the really sort of top end 400 plus. And finally, we're going to be looking at the best smartwatch you can buy. So let's take a look at the best running watches you can get your hands on right now.
So we're starting with what is a new category for us. Didn't have it in last year's video, but this is kind of almost by popular demand, watches that are under £100 but still do a job.
Yeah, I think we're kind of guilty of talking about watches that are affordable. I think these are the ones that, you really don't have a lot of money to spend. You're happy to have the basics, make some compromises, but ultimately the running experience and tracking experience you're getting is going to be pretty solid on that front.
Yeah,
so.
I think a lot of time it's almost accuracy is the key thing here.
Yeah.
Does it do tracking and does it do it properly? And if it does, there's value there, I think, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
So our top pick in this category, we haven't got here, but is the Garmin Forerunner 35.
Yeah, so we don't have it here, but obviously the 35 has been kind of succeeded by the 45, and the 35 I think came out in like 2016, so it's 4 years old, and despite it being that old, I still think it's a really solid watch. And if you want those basics of a running watch, it kind of delivers on that front. The kind of core running metrics. And I think with the heart rate as well, you can still pair, I think that's one of the weaker aspects of it, the heart rate monitoring, but you can pair it to a chest strap, so you can deal with that accuracy side of things. So I think, yeah, for the price, and you can pick it up for around £100, and under £100 I think is a really solid option.
Yeah, we should say, so this has got an RRP of £130, but every time we check, there's like, you said 5 retailers you get it for under £100.
Yeah.
I think basically if you're prepared to wait, if it isn't available for under 100 at the time you look, it will be in a week or so probably. So I think it's there. But we have got some here that have an RRP of under 100.
Yes.
So some honorable mentions, but maybe we'll talk about why we chose the Garmin ahead of these Amazfit in particular watches.
Yeah, so I think the key difference a lot of the times with these cheaper watches is the software that underpins it and that experience, not just on the watch but off the watch as well. And I think with Garmin you've got that Connect app, which you know is going to work, it's going to be reliable, works across platforms, and I think you're getting a consistent experience when you're using the 35. And I think not that you're going to have issues with other watches that we've included here, but I think you're just going to get a more reliable experience, a familiar experience for a lot of runners with the 35.
Yeah, and so what the Amazfit, they're always on Amazon. It's hard to tell which one's the best one. So what's actually the model that you think would you recommend if you were looking at something different?
Yeah, so obviously Amazfit is going to be new to some people. I'm not going to be familiar with the brand. So it's a Chinese tech brand. They make a lot of different things, but they mainly make watches, smartwatches. So they're cheaper, or the cheapest watch is the Amazfit Bip. So there's been a couple of generations. So this is the Bip S. So it's around 60 to 70 pounds. You get built-in GPS, you get heart rate monitoring, there's 22 hours GPS battery life, you've got a couple of weeks kind of in smartwatch mode as well. And it really sticks to the basics, and I think if you want that, this really delivers. I've run with it, it's been accurate from a GPS point of view. Heart rate, not so much. I think it's hit and miss, and you can't pair it with a chest strap monitor like you can with the 35. It does work with Strava, which you can't say for some other watches that are a little bit more expensive. And I think it's a really nice thing is it has a transflective display. So that's similar to what Garmin uses, and you get that strong kind of visibility in bright light when you're out running, and it means the battery life is strong as well. So I think that's a really good option. If you really don't want to spend a lot of money, you want something that works with Strava, I think that the app works fine as well. I've had a really good experience. For £60, £70, it's a really good option.
Yeah, it's great. I haven't run with a newer Bip, I ran with an older one. I thought it was pretty good. I was just say a couple of stats in the Garmin. Garmin actually hasn't got its battery life that's as good as that. I think it's coming around like 13 hours GPS.
Yeah.
But like I say, you're getting that Garmin experience. You're getting a few structured workouts on there, like run, walk things if you're just starting out, and intervals. So yeah, that's why it's top pick. But yeah, the Bip from the Amazfit is a good honourable mention.
So we're now looking at the sub £200 category for watches. Kieran, what are we actually expecting from £200 watches?
Yeah, so we're looking for that kind of next level up. We're looking for kind of richer training features, tracking, more accurate, reliable heart rate and GPS. And I guess general all-round kind of build quality that's going to be more reliable, durable, all of those things, but still at a price point that most runners can actually access.
Okay, so what is our pick for the sub 200 watch category?
Yeah, well, we've actually gone for something that's kind of new into this category. We've got the Coros Pace 2. Now, Coros have been making some really nice watches across the price ranges, but actually I've got one that's really fully featured. It's got a battery life which is really standout. You can't beat this at this price point of 30 hours in full GPS. That's extendable up to 60 hours in low power mode. You won't get near that at this price point with any other watch. But on top of that, you've got other things that you can't really expect at this, like a barometric altimeter. You've got running power on the wrist. And actually the breadth of training insights from training effect, training load, all of those things that actually we've come to expect from a far pricier watch, you're also getting here. And that really sets it out, I think, way and above a lot of the other watches in this category.
Okay, so what other watches have we got in this category that are worth mentioning?
So there's an honourable mention. If you want to go Garmin, the Garmin Forerunner 45 is going to be a watch for you at this price point. It's got that kind of good backup, good solid backup of Garmin Connect and good reliable kind of features that you'll get from a Garmin watch. It hasn't got as good battery life. You're only getting 13 hours in the full GPS battery life. There's no option to extend that battery life in low power mode. But what it is really is at an entry level is one of, it's a good solid Garmin watch. So, also if you might be able to find this at a cheaper price point as well, it is a pretty good bargain if you can pick it up cheaper. The other one we've got is the Polar Ignite, which I guess this one has really got a bit more of a fitness bent to it. It's a little bit more of a fitness watch, what does running as well, but got a lot of the good kind of recovery, sleep, kind of nightly recharge skills that you now come to expect from all the Polar watches. And that one actually I think is another good solid, it's nice, comfortable, light watch, which might be one worth looking at this bracket as well. Right, so we're on to the value category now. Nick, tell us what we're looking for when we talk about value.
So basically we're looking at the feature set you're getting for the price. So obviously we think either the term all round or value has to include, the level of price for what you're getting. There are obviously outstanding watches out there, but if it was like, $2,000, it wouldn't be value kind of thing. So in this category, we've picked overall, and it's contentious, the Garmin Forerunner 245. The Coros Pace 2, which we had in the budget category, has a very good case of being the best overall value watch for the amount of features you're getting for your money. The 245 comes a bit more expensive. It's £250 RRP and £300 if you want the music version. The reasons that I think and we think it's worth the upgrade on the Pace 2 is you're getting Garmin software, which is better than Coros's, and things like the training insights you get from this watch, while they're not as developed as you'll get on high-end watches, they are still pretty impressive. You can use them to vaguely shape your training. You get recovery advice. And Coros is just a bit dodgy, the training advice they get, I found. Like the actual numbers they suggest for me are always miles off what reality is. You're also getting a 5-button design. I still think that is the best way for a watch to have 5 buttons.
As opposed to this crown.
Yeah, the twirling crown on the Coros isn't bad, but I prefer 5 buttons. You're also getting navigation features, breadcrumb navigation with turn-by-turn, which I think is very useful. Battery life's not quite as good, but it's still 24 hours of GPS, and I would find with a week of running every day, I'd usually get through 7 days, 6-7 days. So that's kind of fine for me. So really, I think you're getting everything that most runners are going to need in their everyday life for a price of like £250. And if you want music, which is obviously a very useful smart feature for some people, we don't tend to use it. You can pay £50 more for that, but that's going to bring your battery life right down if you're using music with it. I think it's 6 hours or 7 hours, something like that, with GPS plus music. So really, yeah, it's basically the Goldilocks watch in a way for me, and generally the team have come to pick on that. However, Kieran strongly believes that the V2 is the best value watch, and you explain why, even though it's a lot more expensive than the Forerunner, why it's worth it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that some of it's in how we're looking at value, and I think there can be value in a watch that is a little bit more pricey. You're getting, I think, bang for buck, the amount of features that you're getting from the Polar Vantage V2. If you're really, really serious about your training and getting more of that kind of really deep level training and performance insights, you get that in the V2. And it started to cover off, that kind of whole gamut of things that you'd expect to see in a really good value watch. So you're not just getting, I think you're getting the best kind of sleep tracking. I think arguably getting the best recovery tools that you'll find in a watch right now. But you're also getting clever things like fueling recommendations, which you can't get elsewhere. You get some new things they put in there, leg recovery tests. So you're able to now see muscular recovery by doing a simple jump test that you can't do on any other watch. And add to that, you've got music controls. Okay, it's not offline music, but as we know, that kills the battery life. You get turn-by-turn navigation. You're also getting FitSpot workout recommendations. I think as a holistic tool for your training and everything, I think this actually, bang for buck, there's plenty of features here that make that a really, really good value option.
How much is the V2?
And it's £450 in the UK.
Basically, it really depends on your definition of value. If you're someone who really wants a very advanced watch, value could mean £450 because you're getting all those extra, especially training analysis features are far more developed than you'll get on the Forerunner or anything under £300 really. It's also got slightly longer battery life as well. And an ultra mode, I think, right?
Yeah. So I mean, the battery life's great. So you've got 40 hours, extendable up to 100 hours. I also think, and this is one thing that some people love Polar Flow, some people hate it. Polar Flow for me versus Connect. Polar Flow is a little bit more like a coaching platform. So if you're more into really digging into your data, I think the backup that you get from Polar Flow is quite extensive and interesting and offers. It does it in a very different way to Garmin Connect, but I think it's very much more kind of, I'd argue it's a bit more sort of coach led. So I think there's value there, but
I also say one quickly. I'd say obviously a lot of stuff probably appeals to road runners. The Forerunner 245, I'm a road runner, but ultra wise, you're getting more battery life in ultra mode. The fuel wise features, there are a few features there that might make it better value, in particular if you're considering hitting the trails for ultra distances.
Yeah, I mean the hill splitter that you also get on this watch isn't quite there. It's not quite there, but I think they will evolve it. I think they know what they need to improve on it, having spoken to them, and I think they'll make that a more useful feature than it is right now, letting you see what your climbs and descents are and how those break out.
So yes, basically in the value category, we've got 3 watches here that represent great value at different price points. The kind of middle one is the Forerunner 245. It's our top pick as a result. Really, I even as someone who's running marathons every year, kind of thing, there's nothing there isn't on here that I'd really especially need. But if you do want a bit more and you consider value to have all those extra features, you can splash out a bit on the V2.
Okay, so now we're looking at the best high-end watches out there, and these are watches that have got everything really. They're from build to features to tracking capabilities. They're just everything you want in a watch. Mike, talk us through our top pick for this category.
Okay, so I think there's a kind of general consensus in the team. We all use it. We've all used it kind of consistently throughout the year. So this is the Fenix 6. So this is the 6 Pro. Now the 6 Pro costs £600. Now the standard 6 costs £70 less. We think it's worth paying the extra money. I think the main thing is maps and the mapping support is really strong on the Fenix 6 Pro. I think from a design perspective as well, it's a great looking watch as well. You're getting all the kind of big smartwatch features that Garmin can offer. In terms of the running features, you're getting everything that you kind of get from all the Forerunner range as well in here, and you're getting a really strong battery life. So for us, I think the 6 Pro is the one to go for. Now, if you didn't want to spend that amount of money, you could go for the Forerunner 945, which is a watch actually I've gone back to using. Now you're getting essentially everything you're getting in the 6 Pro, but you're getting it in a lighter, smaller design. You're not getting all that kind of stainless steel and kind of the look on the bezel in terms of the design, but it's still a really strong running watch option. You're getting everything in terms of the metrics that you're getting on the 6 Pro, you're getting on the 945. And that includes the kind of really good battery life. So you've got the 6 Pro, 945. I think also, if you actually wanted to spend a little bit less, the V2 should definitely sit in this category as well. You're getting maybe a bit more in terms of analysis and training features, a slightly different kind of approach to what you get from the Fenix 945, but in a kind of very different way. It's really strong on that front as well. You're getting really strong heart rate performance. You're getting all the kind of key running metrics and advanced running metrics that you want from here as well, including running power. So yeah, this is also a really strong option. I think those are the kind of...
I know Kieran's a big fan of this one.
Kieran is a big fan of the V2. I think those are the, if you've got a lot of money to spend, you want a bit more in terms of your running watch, in terms of design, in terms of features, and still getting that running performance. Those are the watches that we would kind of go for.
Right, our final category is smartwatches. Now, I think it's fair to say, Kieran, that we all kind of agree that if you're getting pretty serious about your running, there's no smartwatch that's really going to satisfy everything you need.
Yeah, this is basically, smartwatches do everything else in your life, and then running as a sort of an add-on, an extra bit, really.
Yeah, so it's more pitched really at casual runners, although some have very good apps that can turn them into running watches, but you're still not getting the full experience of even, I'd say, the budget bracket that we offer, or even the sub 100.
Yeah, and one of the big things there is actually the software side that we talked about earlier. Actually, a lot of them don't really give you the backup software and let you go in and sort of analyse deeply your run stats. But
so that all said, though, we have got a top pick, and it is now the Apple Watch Series 6.
Surprise, surprise.
It's
an Apple Watch.
It's an Apple Watch, which is just the best smartwatch all round. I think you get so much more than... I mean, the App Store is just really well developed on the Apple Watch compared to, I think, most other smartwatches I've tested, and the running side is well covered. Now, the native app is still not the best, but you do have basically any sports app out there. My favourite is iSmooth Run, which basically turns it into a proper running watch. And you can even connect to StridePod and use their app. So there's basically a lot of the stuff that's good about it are based on the fact it's got so much third-party support. But the new model has upgraded a couple of things for runners. The always-on screen's a bit brighter, which is nice when you're running. You can see your stats a bit more clearly. There's some more VO2 max features, so it's better at measuring your VO2 max in the lower ranges, and you're going to get VO2 max alerts down the line that's coming to this watch. But the big thing for me, so I've used every Apple Watch, and I really like it. I would use it if it was even just slightly better for running. The GPS tracking on this, I think, is better.
Yeah.
So in the past, Apple Watches would smooth corners really badly for me, and I'd always end up short on my runs compared to like a Garmin or something like that. This is now more or less matches my Garmin. Not on the track, it still didn't work on the track quite that well. Right, GPS always struggled with that. And at the start of a run, because you just click go, there's no GPS lock, which is always very frustrating. It's sometimes a bit inaccurate. But all that said, I think it's basically the best smartwatch for runners just because it's now accurate, it's got a very good heart rate monitor, and it's got all those extra apps, really.
So they've done that GPS quick fix, really, is there, as it's supposed to be a benefit, right? But actually, if you want to make sure you're getting good uplink, you can't on this.
No, you can't, unless you use a third-party app, which will have a GPS lock check. I find also, on the old watch, it used to be worse GPS if you ran with your phone, because it would piggyback on your phone's GPS. And if you ran with just the watch, it was a bit more accurate. But this now, even with my phone, it seems to be a bit better. But it's not the only Apple Watch that came out this year. But the reason we've picked this over the SE, basically, which is a bit cheaper, but it doesn't have an always-on screen. I think when you're running, you need an always-on screen, really, as much as possible.
Yeah.
And that doesn't apparently have this GPS fix, according to other people who've tested it. So I think it would be worth the money purely almost for the always-on screen if you're a runner.
Right, battery life?
Battery life on this, so basically it's 18 hours, but you get, I think they say up to 7 of GPS, which seems a bit optimistic. But because it now has sleep tracking, you have to charge it in the day. But I found on a day with a long run where I took it off the charger at 10 p.m. the previous night, at 7 or 8 p.m. the next day, I'd have at least 30% left. So it will get you through a day.
It will easily handle a marathon for most people. Right?
Yeah, which was interesting. We have got a marathon tested on the previous one, whereas sometimes it might not quite live up to its billing, especially if you use any kind of music. I think you might be a bit risky.
Or you have to get up early and travel to the marathon.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what
You've got a few hours before this is burning through the battery.
Yeah, so it's far from perfect, and obviously it only works with iPhones, but it's capable enough that casual runners will get everything they need out of this. And if you could live with a not always on screen and could use those third-party apps, you can get very good running apps on this watch. So obviously one huge flaw of the Apple Watch is it only works with iPhones. Mike is our big Wear OS expert, so we've tagged him in for Kieran here. Basically talk about, we've never been that impressed by Wear OS running watches, it's fair to say.
Yeah, and I mean, I can comfortably say I've tested pretty much every Wear OS watch that's been launched this year, and the running experience in general has not been great, and it's been hampered by a lot of different things. But if there is one that's kind of stood out of the ones that are tested, I think probably you agree as well, we'd probably say it's a Suunto 7, which I think you're getting a mix of Wear OS, but you're also getting a lot of the stuff that Suunto do well, and I think the mix just about works right. I think the battery life is okay, and GPS is, and the kind of core kind of running experience is okay.
Yeah.
And if you wanted a Wear OS watch and you don't have an iPhone, it's an option, I think.
Yeah,
serve you well.
I think the only thing I was really disappointed about the 7 is that Suunto know what running watches need to have on them, and they just took it off it, a lot of it. They took off a lot of things like being able to adjust your data fields easily and what you could show on your watch, and the accuracy wasn't very good on heart rate, and but you couldn't pair an external sensor. All stuff that is bog standard stuff for Suunto watches. They took it out because it's a different kind of watch, but if they left that on, the fact that you have the Google Play Store plus a genuine Suunto sports app would have made it much more compelling than it actually turned out to be. But it has an update, it's got much better navigation features now, and it might, in the future it could end up being a pretty solid option if you do want a genuine smartwatch with Google Play on it, but better sports tracking. But I think we often say that if you are on Android, there are watches that are better. Basically, maybe aren't true smartwatches, but
Yes,
are very good sport hybrids.
Yeah. So, and I think one that I think we both agree, and we did a video on this. Obviously, is the Huawei Watch GT2 and GT2e, which GT2e is a kind of sportier looking version, but essentially they're sharing the same features, and it works with Android and iOS. I think it's a really good option for Android users. I think the running experience is very strong. I think things like GPS accuracy, was good for me. Heart rate is kind of a mixed bag, and you don't have the ability to kind of pair it with an external sensor, which is a shame. But the battery life is really strong. I think the GPS battery holds up really well, and it looks really nice as well. The screen is lovely on it. It's a nice looking a nice looking watch, and I think it's a really good option. One thing I would kind of say on this is that with Huawei, it's a closed platform, so if you wanted to share your data to Strava or other third party apps, you don't have that ability to do that. The app itself is pretty good, but that is something to be aware of if you're looking at a watch.
Definitely, and I also say it's really an Android option. I use an iPhone generally with it, and you don't get music as a result of that, and stress tracking. I think the music's the big loss, because this is a smartwatch in some ways. It's got a lovely screen, it's got music, but it doesn't have the Wear OS Play Store or anything like that, so you're not getting a load of apps. But it does have some, it's quite running focused in the sports today. It has like running training programs, stuff like that. And it does have first beat analytics under the hood, which is what you get in Garmin's.
Yeah, so you're getting a lot of that kind of rich training analysis features. And I think if you're a beginner, you don't really know where to start with your running, and actually introducing more structure to your running. There's some really nice features, I think, from that perspective. And it's all well explained, which I think is really important.
Yeah, it is,
So yeah, some really strong features. And as a smartwatch and a kind of fitness and running watch, I think the Huawei Watch GT2e is a good option.
It's brilliant. It's also very cheap. It's like 130 usually pounds, and sometimes under 100 even. Whereas obviously the Apple Watch is almost £400, and the Suunto is also actually very expensive. So there's that to consider as well.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That's the best running watches you can buy right now across all those categories. We want to hear what your favourite running watch is. We want to hear if you've got any more questions about any of these individual devices or any other watches we've tested on here. We also really, really need you to like and subscribe and ring the bell, because if you don't ring the bell, this guy will be round your house. So yeah, we've been the Run Testers, and we will see you again soon. Thanks for watching.